On the surface, Promised Land is a traditional story of love and deception, of murder and betrayal. But beneath that traditional facade lies the story of one man's journey to find his identity. In order to ensure the film's ability to explore these existential truths, we employed a cinematic style which would probably be best described as expressionist, a style designed to depict not only the physical landscape that the characters inhabit, but their emotional landscape as well. By the time we were on set, I had taken almost every moment in the film and turned it into a visual representation, which was drawn on a page. I then worked with the director of photography, the production designer, and the rest of the crew to find ways to interpret those drawn pictures stylistically in order to find the right costumes, the right set dressing, and the right look for the film. By putting a database of references together and having discussions with that creative team, by collaborating to take the storyboards to the next level, we ended up with a conceptual look and feel for the project.
When we tried to find a look for Promised Land, we wanted to find something that would reflect the emotional landscape of the story. We used the themes of isolation and decay to try and find a bleakness to the image, something with thick inky blacks and with a slight hint of yellow and green.
The film that we have ended up with, I think, is a very good reflection of the film that we set out to create. Hitchcock said that film directing is about conceptualizing, analyzing, and synthesizing. In other words, it's about conceiving of something, breaking it down into its component parts, playing with those parts, and then re-synthesizing them to form something that is a good reflection of what one set out to create in the first place. In Promised Land, I think we've managed to achieve that.
Grant and I went outside for about 2 minutes before and just bumped up against each other just to start getting this feeling of aggression going between us. If you try and do anything artificial, if you try and bring in sort of gestures and stuff that you think will be right and think will be cool, you're actually interrupting a natural process, which is what you want. You want the truth and you want what's real, and bringing in things that you think will work will actually serve to interrupt that. We've got a fire which comes just from being human, and by bringing in things which you think are going to increase that fire and make it burn brighter, what you're actually doing is you're putting it out.
I think Carla knew all along that something will change, something will happen, and if George didn't come along, I'm sure she and Paul, something would have propelled them into doing something. But in the end, it will be a positive change.
Even though he's not the hero of the piece, because I think he's more the catalyst of what happens, I think he has the presence of mind to stay. And even when he realizes the consequences, he makes a decision and he says, I'm staying and I'll see this through. And I think that is a strength when you are on a search for your identity, to stay and find out and see what the hell's happening, and not to run back or not to run away, and to try and make it work.
In approaching Promised Land, my first challenge was to take off my writer's hat and to replace it with a director's hat. This meant that I had to start re-evaluating the script that I had written from a story, character, and plot perspective. I no longer wanted to look at it as a writer whose objective it was to put words on paper, but rather as a director whose job it was to put images on the screen.
Shooting on HD gives you a lot of mobility. The camera's light, you can move it around really fast, and you can grade in camera, which allows you to gauge whether or not elements of the production design are working.
The theme of memories, dreams, and secrets that lies at the heart of George's journey to define his identity was achieved by creating a constant sense of voyeurism. Seemingly subjective camera movement and foregrounding within the frame suggest the presence of a third unseen eye, an invisible character that embodies both the resurfacing of George's past as well as the skeletons in the closet of Peter's death. Similarly, undulating bands of light are employed to distort and warp objects within the frame, blurring the line between reality and the imagination. Ultimately, what we have tried to do is construct an emotionally charged story that will give you access to the inner world of an isolated community. Hopefully, what we have created is a piece of cinematic entertainment that will draw you in and give you a perspective on your own life and the world around you.